We're gonna have bad ones in a few years. You fetch some water for the dishes.
Yes, Pa. I told Nellie her teeth would fall out. She didn't care. She just buy teeth like her mother has.
Little House on the Prairie was one of the most popular TV series of the 70s and 80s. It was a warm and comforting show that many people still want to watch again to this day. However, behind the camera was a completely different story. What drama and chaos happened behind the scenes? What troubles did the cast face when the cameras weren't rolling? Let's find out. Do you remember the intelligence and strength of little Laura Ingalls? Please comment 1 if you like this character. However, there are many facts that few people know about Melissa Gilbert. Let's learn a little about her to understand the difficulties she had to go through behind the scenes. Melissa Gilbert. Melissa Gilbert, the half-sister of the Happy-Go-Lucky sisters, was one of the main cast members of Little House on the Prairie. She was born on May 8, 1964, in Los Angeles, California. Shortly after her birth, she was adopted by Paul Gilbert, an actor and comedian, and Barbara Crane, an actress and dancer. This laid the foundation for Melissa to grow up in a family closely connected to the entertainment industry. Soon after, the family adopted Jonathan Gilbert, who later became an actor in Little House on the Prairie. With such a family background, Melissa's early foray into the world of television seemed inevitable. She appeared in hundreds of commercials as a child. However, Melissa's biggest career breakthrough came when she was cast as Laura Ingalls Wilder. Classmate Leslie Landon, daughter of the show's star Michael Landon, shared the news of the audition. Melissa beat out more than 500 other child actors for the role and had to wait nearly a year before filming began. A role that would change her life forever. Despite her successful career, Melissa's life hasn't always been easy. She has been open about her struggles with a challenging past. As a child, she was diagnosed with a neurological condition that severely impacted her daily life. But now Melissa has overcome those obstacles, lives happily, and actively helps others deal with their struggles. Melissa isn't the only one who has struggled as a child on the set of Little House on the Prairie. More notably, she's also not the only Melissa on set to deal with childhood trauma, leading many to wonder whether childhood experiences on set have lasting effects on young actors. We can't talk about Melissa Gilbert without mentioning Melissa Anderson. Her life may surprise you because real life is very different from what is on screen. Melissa Anderson. By appearing in commercials and guest starring on TV, when she was 7, her family moved to Southern California, where she was encouraged to participate in physical activities such as dancing to treat her asthma. A dance teacher noticed her talent and encouraged Melissa to pursue acting. Her parents were supportive and sought out a talent agency to help her launch her career. Although she initially struggled to fit in Hollywood because of her undistinguished blonde hair and blue eyes, Melissa quickly caught the attention of directors. She appeared in commercials and appeared in The Brady Bunch and Shaft in 1973. A year later, at the age of 11, she was cast as Mary Ingalls, the eldest daughter of the Ingalls family, on Little House on the Prairie. However, Melissa's life was not entirely smooth sailing. Her parents divorced when she was 13, which greatly affected her relationship with the other child actors on the show. By the 4th season, her character Mary Ingalls was blind, and Melissa's impressive performance earned her an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Lead Actress in a drama series in 1978, becoming the first and only cast member of Little House on the Prairie to receive such a nomination. Despite her success with the role, the continued tragedies that befell her character led Melissa to decide to leave the show in 1981. She then acted in some television and film roles, but gradually realized that she wanted to focus on her family. She decided to put her career on hold and moved to Canada to raise her children, building a new life away from Hollywood. Interestingly, both Melissas hardly ever got along behind the scenes. This may be hard to believe, but it is true. What obstacles did they encounter in their relationship? How did they manage to put aside their grudges to do well in their roles? Stay tuned for the answers. Melissa Gilbert and Melissa Anderson didn't get along. On screen, they may look like the perfect couple, even making many people jealous of their close sisterly relationship. However, when the camera stops, these young women do not get along and even often clash. This further highlights their acting ability Because in reality, it is difficult to show affection to someone you do not like in real life. So why can't these actors stand each other? According to Melissa Gilbert, she had a hard time working with her co-star, Melissa Sue Anderson. Years later, Gilbert released her memoir, Prairie Tale, in which she was candid about this strained relationship. She described Anderson as cold and arrogant, and she was not alone in feeling this way. Several other co-stars also shared that working with Anderson was not easy. Although they both had many similarities in their careers, they did not really share the same views and did not have a good relationship in real life. However, this tension never became the focus of attention on the set, but was skillfully hidden thanks to their acting skills. Instead, it was another co-star's more devious affair that hit the front pages. Michael Landon had an affair. Can you guess who this character is? And what are these scandals? Let's find out. Michael Landon, Morris Orowitz, born October 31st, 1931, in Forest Hills, a neighborhood in Queens, New York, was soon noticed for his good looks, charm, and acting ability. At the age of 22, he landed his first major television role in 1959, as Little Joe Cartwright on the popular series Bonanza, one of the first television shows to air in color. When Bonanza was cancelled, he was cast as Pa Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie, and his career continued to soar. However, it wasn't just Michael Landon's, his stage name career, that attracted attention. His personal life was also a hot topic. While on Little House on the Prairie, Michael was married, but his affair with the show's makeup artist, Cindy Clerico, sparked controversy. The relationship not only caused controversy because of the 20-year age gap, but also because Michael had an affair while still married to his wife. The affair put a strain on Michael's relationships with many of his co-stars and friends, including Melissa Gilbert, who had close ties to the Landon family. Melissa, who had looked up to Michael as a father figure after her adoptive father died, was deeply hurt by his actions and refused to forgive him for years. She was very close to Michael's daughter, Leslie, and Michael's betrayal of her family devastated her. The silent war between Michael and Melissa lasted for 9 years. They finally reconciled when Melissa appeared with Michael on The Johnny Carson Show. Sadly, just a week after they resolved their differences, Michael died of pancreatic cancer, an aggressive disease that doctors were unable to treat. Although their reconciliation was short-lived, the two at least found peace before Michael died in 1991. However, this affair was not the only controversy Michael encountered in his career and life, showing that he was a complex character both on-screen and off. Nepotism is fine so long as they have talent. This was probably what the cast and crew of Little House on the Prairie had in mind, because it didn't appear that they were too bothered by Leslie Landon's inclusion in the show. So what happens next? Stay tuned. Leslie Landon. In the entertainment industry, it is not uncommon for actors to arrange roles for friends or family, and Michael Landon was no exception. He arranged for his daughter, Leslie Landon, to appear on Little House on the Prairie, where she played the role of Etta Plum, a teacher, in several early season episodes. However, acting was not a long-term path that Leslie wanted to pursue. Although her father, Michael, was a huge success in the entertainment industry and enjoyed the fame and perks that came with it, Leslie had no such interest. After a brief stint on Little House on the Prairie and another television series, Leslie decided to retire from acting. Instead of pursuing the spotlight, she chose a different path and now lives a normal life in Los Angeles, where she works as a clinical psychologist. As for Alison Arngrim, who also started her career as a child model and appeared in television commercials, she rose to fame playing Nellie Oleson, the famous villain of Little House on the Prairie, from 1974. This role helped Alison leave her mark on audiences with one of the most memorable characters of the series. Interestingly, Alison had originally auditioned to play Laura Ingalls and later Mary Ingalls, but she was instead cast as the antagonist of the series. Why such a change? Was she disappointed at that point? Let's take a look at this interesting story and discover the pain she went through when taking on that role. Alison. There is no other actress who could have played the role of Nellie Oleson but Alison, when we take into consideration the fact that this is the case. She had the ability to act with the best of them, despite the fact that she was a youngster. In addition, how do we know this? As was the case with Joffrey Baratheon on Game of Thrones, she became one of the most despised children in the United States because she was so skilled at portraying a villain. Allison would go on to perform the part for a total of 7 seasons, which resulted in her depiction being a cultural reference and a camp archetype for the spoilt bad girl throughout the decade of the 1970s. Indeed, Allison was a perfect fit for the part. At the very beginning of her debut, it was apparent that she was the standard supervillain who appeared on the show. On the other hand, not only was she a spoiled and dishonest person, but her hair was always well styled. We are here to break the news to you that those flawless curls in Hollywood were not genuine. If you are like us and are wondering how they managed to obtain such curls, rest assured that they were not real. Despite the fact that the style appeared to be so lovely on the surface, the truth was far more distressing. Initially, the stylists working on the program had attempted to create the look by using Allison's genuine hair. Nevertheless, they stated that it was perfectly acceptable to use her own hair in order to get the desired curls and illusion. Consequently, they just put on a wig and called it quits for the day. The unfortunate reality is that they did not make as much of an effort to ensure that it was comfortable for tiny Allison's head shape. Because it was so tight, her scalp bled on many occasions. It was an uncomfortable situation. Consequently, while you are insulting Nellie, you should take time to consider the agony that she must have been experiencing behind all of that hair. It's hard to imagine Hollywood without Sean Penn. Over the years, he has solidified his place as one of the industry's most talented and recognizable actors. So let's explore him a little bit. Sean Penn. It is noteworthy to notice that Sean's first step into the public light was to have a little role in the television show Little House on the Prairie. This was his first entry into the public view. Even though it was not a job that would make him a household name, it was adequate to build the framework for his future success. A younger version of Sean Penn made a cameo in the 11th episode of the first season, which was named The Voice of Tinker Jones. He was referred to as Kid. The fact that he did not have a considerable amount of screen time did not change the reality that it was difficult to ignore his existence. However, this marked the beginning of Sean's career, and he would go on to portray some of the most famous roles in the business in the years to come. Sean Penn wasn't the only future star to get his start on the show. Who is the other name? Can you guess? Jason Bateman. Another well-known actor who began his career in this profession is Jason Bateman, who is most known for his portrayal of the character James Cooper Ingalls for the television show. Both James and his sister Cassandra were adopted by the Ingalls family when their parents passed away unexpectedly. The Ingalls family took custody of both of them as adopted children. As a result of the fact that the Cooper brothers were not included in the first book series, Jason was allowed to put his creative skills to use while he was portraying the role of James. In contrast to the majority of the personalities that are shown on the program, this is their behavior. It was during the 7th season of the program that he made his first appearance. He continued to perform the same role until the 9th season, eventually establishing himself as a renowned figure in the entertainment industry. The fact that this young guy would go on to become a comedy force in the future and participate in shows like Arrested Development is something that no one could have imagined and could not have predicted. Michael was adamant about retaining the spotlight for himself, and in order to accomplish this goal, he did not always follow the conventional strategy. In spite of the fact that there was a diverse group of pupils who were projected to achieve great success in the years to come, this was the case. If you've watched Little House on the Prairie, you've probably noticed that Pa Ingalls has a habit of taking off his shirt whenever he can. Michael Landon. Even though he was working on the farm or mending anything around the house, Michael's character frequently managed to lose his top, and there was a very specific reason for this. Michael had a reputation for having an amazing body, which stood out among performers at the time because it was not precisely typical. He was fully aware of this, and this was something that he enjoyed doing. Although at this point it could appear to be a little overdone, it is not difficult to comprehend why he made the most of every opportunity to show off his muscles. Pa Ingalls was just as ready for a workout as he was for a dramatic moment, and this became a running joke among the people who knew him so well. In the future, Kyle Richards will be a real housewife. Some of the performers who appeared on Little House on the Prairie went on to earn renown in other, less traditional ways. even though many of them went on to have successful playing careers. A good example of this would be Kyle Richards, who portrayed the role of Alicia Edwards on the program. The character that she played on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is what has propelled her to the forefront of public attention, even though she continued to have solid acting employment following her time on the show. It is interesting to note that Kyle is also the aunt of Paris Hilton, the notorious hotel heiress, which adds a degree of mystery to her narrative in the Hollywood industry. Kyle has undoubtedly carved out her own space in the entertainment business, keeping a stable career from her days as a child performer. Although she may not be the most renowned member of her family, she has surely worked hard to establish herself. On screen, Laura Ingalls and Nellie Olson couldn't stand each other, but the reality is far from that. Do you know their real-life relationship? I will reveal it right now. Melissa Gilbert and Alison Arngrim's off-screen friendship. Laura, who was portrayed by Melissa Gilbert, and Nellie, who was portrayed by Alison Arngrim, were perpetually at war with one another within the context of Little House on the Prairie. Their competition was a primary source of drama. On the other hand, things were quite different behind the scenes. And during the time when their characters were at odds with one another, Melissa and Alison developed a genuine relationship that continued to exist long after the cameras had stopped rolling. In contrast to the fierce enmity that they exhibited on film, this is a very enjoyable contrast. Not only that, but their ongoing relationship serves as a reminder of the ties that performers may build throughout the course of long-running productions. Both of them have gone on to have great professions, but the time they spent on Little House will always have a unique and significant place in their hearts. Initially, Melissa Gilbert kissed someone. When it comes to Melissa Gilbert, her time spent working on the program was more than simply a job. It was an experience that she went through as she matured. Melissa began her role as Laura when she was just 10 years old, and the show continued for over a decade after it was first shown. During her time on set, she naturally experienced many of the significant moments that life has to offer, including her very first kiss. In a particularly memorable episode, Laura enters into a marriage with Almanso Wilder, and the kiss that they had at their wedding ceremony was Melissa's very first kiss. She managed to carry off the scenario like a seasoned professional, despite the fact that it was understandable that she was apprehensive. However, her mother did not manage it as well as she should have, and it was stated that she was unable to find any solace as she saw her daughter take such a significant step, even though it was in character. It is a touching and amusing incident in Melissa's life that demonstrates how closely her real-world experiences were connected to the persona she portrays on TV. A great number of child performers have been shielded from some of the horrors that are associated with being in the spotlight as a result of labor restrictions. The idea that showrunners used to force youngsters to work the same number of long hours as adults is one of these horrifying things that happened. When the filming of Little House on the Prairie was taking place, thankfully, this did not present any difficulties. There was, however, an additional challenge that the program needed to overcome. The labor restrictions that are in place might make filming with small children a very difficult and time-consuming process. Due to the fact that they are not permitted to work as many hours as adults, Hollywood has to come up with inventive ways to accommodate their schedules. Consequently, the show utilized a technique that is common in Hollywood when it came to casting the character of young Carrie Ingalls. Essentially, they were able to circumvent the system by using identical twins. Just how did they manage to pull this off? For the most part, things went off without a hitch because the females were the same. To guarantee that they had all of the photos that they needed, the girls simply exchanged places with one another once one of them had finished filming for the day. Even though some fans may have been aware of this shift, the majority of them were completely unaware of it. In addition to that, the production made sure to give credit to only one individual, Lindsay Sidney Greenbush, for the role. Is it true that you are one of the few individuals who understood this? Even though this particular moment was meticulously planned out by the show, there was another moment that was not rehearsed or even planned out, but ended up becoming highly beloved. During the opening titles, there was an unexpected tumble that became renowned. Sometimes, when it comes to acting, performers could find themselves delivering the most popular lines in their whole careers entirely off script. This can happen without any prior preparation. There are instances when these sequences end up becoming some of the most unforgettable moments in the history of television. Little House on the Prairie can argue that the same thing occurred for the program, since one of the most well-known sequences in the series was a total and utter coincidence. What are those scenes, and what is the truth behind them? Let me explore. Fun facts. When you think about the opening of Little House on the Prairie, one of the most iconic images is the scene where Laura Ingalls falls down a hill. Interestingly, this scene was completely unplanned. During filming, the child actress accidentally tripped, but because the moment was so cute, the producers decided to keep it and include it in the show's intro. This fall has become one of the most memorable moments of the series, making viewers nostalgic every time they think about it. As for Karen Grassel, who played Ma Ingalls, she made a strong impression on audiences with her excellent acting and strong presence on Little House on the Prairie. Many expected her to continue to shine with a brilliant career in Hollywood after the show ended. However, Karen chose a different path. After the show wrapped, she decided to step away from the spotlight and move to a quiet life, away from the hustle and bustle of Los Angeles. Although she later took part in a few small projects, most notably a role in the 1994 film Wyatt Earp, her acting career remained relatively small in the years that followed. Karen appeared in only a few roles in the 2010s, suggesting that she did not seek fame or Hollywood attention, but rather chose a more private life that suited her better. Michael Landon, star of Little House on the Prairie, has always been particular about his appearance on camera, especially when playing Pa Ingalls. Standing at 5 feet 9 inches tall, Michael felt that his character needed to be taller to project power and authority. To create that image, in addition to using clever camera angles, he also wore high-heeled boots to add height and complete the look. Additionally, Michael is very proud of his thick, voluminous hair. Interestingly, he started having grey hair when he was in his early 20s. Initially, Michael dyed his hair at home, but as his greys increased, he had to turn to professional hair dye. Although he was initially reluctant to let others touch his hair, he eventually accepted the intervention to maintain a more youthful appearance for the role. Thanks to these tricks, Michael Landon created the perfect image for his character throughout filming, helping Pa Ingalls become a memorable icon on screen. Despite a few tricks to keeping his image perfect, Michael Landon's portrayal of Pa Ingalls made him an unforgettable on-screen icon. His tall boots, well-groomed hair, and sense of style all contributed to the character's appeal. Little House on the Prairie was more than just a beloved television show. It was also a deeply influential family affair. Michael's daughter, Leslie, appeared as Etta Plum, a teacher, in some of the show's early episodes. Additionally, Melissa Gilbert's brother, Jonathan, had a recurring role as the mischievous Willie Olson. Although Melissa Gilbert continued to pursue her acting career after the show, Jonathan chose to step away from Hollywood, and Little House became the most prominent role of his career. Both Melissa and Jonathan were adopted by the acting couple Paul Gilbert and Barbara Crane, and despite their unique and interesting upbringings, the relationship between the two siblings gradually became distant. In her memoir, Melissa revealed that she and Jonathan had lost contact for many years, but did not elaborate on the reason. Before joining Little House on the Prairie, Michael Landon had become a household name thanks to his role as Little Joe Cartwright on the popular Western series Bonanza. With his unique charm, he won the hearts of audiences and became one of the prominent faces of television in the 1960s. However, when he moved to Little House, Michael did not completely abandon his previous image and success. Michael Landon brought with him several unused scripts from the series Bonanza. When some of the plots never made it to air, he revised and adapted them for his new show, Little House on the Prairie. This wasn't a sneaky move, but rather a common practice in the Hollywood industry known as script recycling. Rather than letting good ideas go to waste, Michael cleverly repurposed them to fit the plot of Little House, saving the crew time and resources. While this may come as a surprise to some fans of both shows, in the world of television production, it's a smart and effective storytelling strategy that allows old concepts to reach new audiences. Some of the plots that may have been recycled include family conflicts, stories of kindness, and familiar life lessons. However, with the controversy surrounding the show, viewers began to wonder if the cast and crew were dealing with a series of unfortunate events. or if there was something more mysterious going on. Little House on the Prairie has explored many sensitive topics related to infection and illness, leading some to question whether there were any parallels between those storylines and the real-life health conditions of its cast members. Gradually, speculation has emerged that the show may be cursed, with unfortunate incidents occurring to cast and crew members, adding to the mystery surrounding what happens behind the scenes. But is that the case? Who would want to curse a TV show? Probably not. Cursed show. There have been speculations going about that the show was responsible for the sad illnesses and deaths that have befallen various cast members, and this has not prevented the stories from spreading. Following the conclusion of the program, several cast members, including Michael Landon, Victor French, and Kevin Hagen, all passed away as a result of cancer. Although their deaths were horrible, it does not appear to be a curse. A more reasonable viewpoint would be one in which there was an event that took place on set that might have contributed to the individual's higher likelihood of developing cancer. Despite this, it is highly improbable that a curse could be the reason for these fatalities that are not connected. It is a fortunate circumstance that a significant number of the cast members are still alive and in good health to this day, regardless of whether or not that notion is partially accurate. We should be thankful that they were able to survive these challenges. When it comes to curses, the show's conclusion saw the formerly tranquil community coming to a violent end when a real estate developer purchased the entire region, leaving the locals in a state of rage. In sharp contrast to the tranquil mood that the play had previously established, this unexpected turn of events was a jarring surprise. In light of this, the dramatic conclusion has given rise to a wide variety of speculations, with fans asking exactly what caused the town to be completely eradicated from the map. There is a belief that Michael personally ordered the explosion as a reaction to the decreasing audience that occurred throughout the last seasons of the show. The suggestion that demolishing the set with an explosion would have made the cleaning considerably simpler is another one that is more plausible but does not yet have any evidence to support it. Whatever the cause may have been, it was an unforgettable way to bring the series to a close, leaving viewers with a vast amount of material to discuss and contemplate. The female characters in the series must have felt extremely hot under their thick layers of clothing, but they never showed that discomfort once. Let me imagine for a moment. The California heat. Imagine acting in the sweltering California heat while wearing about 50 layers of thick clothing. The short answer to the experience is, it sucked. While the show wanted to create a classic look, the truth is that the bulky costumes were very uncomfortable for the actors to shoot in the blazing California sun. What you may not know is that the show, although set in Minnesota, was filmed in Simi Valley, California. And while the local scenery was great for filming, the heat was a big problem for both the cast and crew. It was reported that a member of the crew fainted from the heat on the first day of filming. As time went on, they got used to the conditions, but it wasn't always easy. When the heat became too unbearable, they had to find ways to cool down. One of the cast members of Little House on the Prairie, Matthew Labiotto, who played the Ingalls' adopted son Albert, has an interesting story to tell during his time on the show. In 1982, in addition to his acting career, he became the national Pac-Man champion with an impressive high score of 1.2 million points. This love of video games eventually led him to a new career. Although he has been a familiar face on television and in movies since 1974, Matthew Labiotto has recently ventured into the world of video games, but this time as a voice actor. You can hear his voice in titles like Star Wars, The Old Republic, Star Wars Connect, and Gangstar Vegas. His unique combination of acting skills and passion for video games has created an interesting twist in his career, allowing him to combine both of these interests.